Now they're on. You can hear me now, right? Wonderful. Very good. Okay.
Can you hear me? You can hear me now?
This is the time and place for the general public to address the City Council on any item listed or not listed on the agenda per Government Code Section 54954.3. State law prohibits the Council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The Council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes per individual or less as deemed necessary by the mayor, depending upon the number of individuals desiring to speak. All communications are to be addressed directly to the council, not the members of the audience. This is a professional business meeting, and courtesy and decorum are expected. Please refrain from any debate between audience and speaker, making loud noises, or engaging in any activity which might be disruptive to the decorum of the meeting. Any person or group who interferes with the conduct of a city council meeting by willfully interrupting and or disrupting the meeting is subject to removal. A peace officer may be requested to assist with the removal should any person or group fail to comply with an order of removal by the mayor. Any person or group who resists removal by a peace officer is subject to arrest and prosecution pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.9, Penal Code Section 403. At this time, may we have declaration of closed session items by our city attorney, please?
Do you want to do that first, or want to take the public comment first? I believe you have some cards.
I'll take the cards first.
Okay.
The first card that I have is Miller Marks, and after Miller Marks is Angela Marks. Step up. Yes, please.
Hi, Madam Mayor and council members. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas to each and one of you, and a happy, prosperous New Year's. Madam Mayor, we have a situation again. They had another accident on our street on Mariposa Road about early December sometime, and I just thank the Lord again. They missed our premises, my son's home, because my son lives on the corner of the cul-de-sac. And we took some pictures that I could show you what we're talking about. And the speeders are just going crazy, I'm telling you. And we do need some help right away. We could make some suggestions before a light could come in or a stop sign on Yates and Mariposa. We could discuss that. I just wanted to show you the accident, if it's okay. Can I walk there?
No, you would have to hand it to the
Oh,
clerk
to the
after
clerk.
you get done speaking.
Oh, okay. Me and my family we're all concerned. It's not only me and my home. We got like 4 or 5 other neighbors in the area that we don't know where these vehicles going to wind up at, They did hit a telephone pole, and I just thank God that the driver was okay. Nobody else was hurt, but, they're just driving mad on Mariposa, and we have to try to at least do something for our safety. That's what everybody's job is here for. So please consider that. I've been here for, I think you're going on like a year and a half now, Mayor. And, we at least need some safety for our lives. That's what main thing is counts, because I can't help it. Our home is right near the Mariposa Road, and plus we're getting a lot of Los Angeles people moving here, and they just drive mad. I don't know what else I could say. So please consider that. And you want me to show you want to see the pictures now? Or
Yes, I don't have an address or telephone number or anything. I don't need it now. I just need to know how they can contact you.
Yeah, I can give you my, what, you want my address and phone
Give it
number?
to the clerk.
Yeah, I will. Before I leave or no?
You
no?
can do it now.
Okay. I'll
Thank
do
you
that.
very much.
And my wife will come up now and she'll read this.
Yeah, she's the next one on the
Okay,
card.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Angela Marks.
Oh, thank you. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Madam Mayor and council members, give me a few minutes to read everything. As my husband was saying, you know, as a father and a grandfather, my husband is very concerned of what's been going on in the area because of the high speeders. My son lives right down the street from me, which is on the same street facing Mariposa. So, you know, if it's possible, we've been asking and we've been pleading with the city for the past almost 2 years to do something. We do appreciate that the police department did put up a speeder sign, and that's been helping, slowing down the traffic, and I've been noticing some of that has been working out, and we do appreciate the police department enforcing the traffic, you know, the speeders occasionally when they have time, because they're very busy also. So, you know, if it's possible, you know, we're trying to see if the city could help to put some kind of guardrail, to put some kind of wall to protect our 4 houses, my house, my neighbor's house, my son's house. So we're looking at 3 houses. We're pleading with the city to do something for us here. You know, we've been approaching this for the past year and a half. We know that the red light might take a while to be approved due to finances. We also asked for a consideration for a stop sign, maybe around Mariposa and Yates, something that could stop the speeders from driving that 2 miles straight from Nisqually to the Green Tree Hotel. That's how long of a stretch they have. Our speed limit on the road is 2 lanes, and it's only 50 miles an hour, which they don't drive 50, they'll drive 80 or 90. So that's why we're asking and pleading with the city to see what they could do for us to help put safety and protection for our homes, our families, our children. We really appreciate it. God bless you guys if you could help us out. And that's all I could say. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next card, Geraldine Dean. No, I'm sorry, David Marks. I'm sorry, David Marks.
First of all, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year's, and we appreciate everything you guys are doing for us. And like my parents was saying, we do see a lot of people that are speeding, and you know, we don't know what the situation is, if they're under drugs, influence, or alcohol. But there has to be some kind of steps that we're hoping that you guys could take just to ensure the safety of the public, especially where we're at right over there on Elmwood and Tamarack, right there in Mariposa. And, you know, we see speeders, whether it's early morning hours, late hours, it doesn't really matter. They just are taking advantage of the system, and they just don't have respect for the law. And, you know, I know you guys are doing a lot, and our officers are doing a lot, but it just seems like we need a little bit more extra protection just for our safety. And that's where I'm at, and thank you guys for allowing me to come forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know if someone has already contacted them before. They have? Okay. And so we do have that information for them.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, we are very familiar as staff with this area, and particularly we've been studying Mariposa Road and Yates, that intersection, because that is the intersection. It's a T intersection with Mariposa that effectively, as you're traveling northbound, approaches the neighborhood that they're living in. So we've reported to you last that we had conducted some traffic studies in the area and determined that they do in fact meet warrants for a signal there. So that it will enable us to start the planning process and the prioritization process. There's also a number of locations throughout the city that already meet warrants and already have, you know, planned signals. This is something we would traditionally handle through the capital improvement program, the budgeting process. What the residents are asking for is something interim to that, we can continue to look at it to see if there is an alternative or some kind of interim step before the ultimate solution, which is believed to be a signal. The one issue that we do run into there is the difference between public property and private property. So I think a lot of what they're envisioning is a solution, though we'll look at it further, is on private property. So you have some different issues there. But we are increasing our enforcement, our traffic enforcement in the area, and we can continue to ramp that up to try to really encourage people to slow down.
Thank you. Something's being done, and of course, if need be, they will be contacting you also. Yeah, thank you. Geraldine Dean.
Good evening. I'm here in support of Miller Marks because my daughter lives on Elmwood, which I can see Mariposa from my daughter's house. And like Miller was saying, the people are speeding. They're going 70 and 80 miles an hour. Once they pass Nisqually, going down to Palmdale, they're speeding. And what I have to do when I get ready to turn on Tamarack, going north on Mariposa, I have to start giving my signal almost 2 blocks away. And I slow down, and the cars are still right on me. Okay, the fact that Sergeant Kelly with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Office put up that sign that says, watch your speed, and it says 50 miles an hour. They will slow down when they see that sign because they think there are policemen sitting somewhere with a radar gun. But once they pass that sign, they pick up speed again, and when I'm trying to turn right on Tamarack, they're right on me. And what they do, they actually go around me into the turn signal, into the turn lane where people are going south on Mariposa. So there's going to be a head-on collision right there. And Miller's house is going to be destroyed, and so is your neighbor who's right there on the corner. So something needs to be done. And that's our major concern, is slowing down the speeders. Until we get that stoplight, something needs to be done right there. Because, like I say, I'm afraid that I'm going to be rear-ended when I'm turning on the Tamarack from Mariposa, because there's only one lane. But going south, you have the turn signal onto Tamarack, the turn lane, but there's no turn lane for us if we're going north on Mariposa. So I would appreciate if something could be done. And I know the city manager say they're working on it.
Yes,
but until then, I don't know how long it's going to take, but to me, it's urgent. Even to have police, they could issue a lot of tickets if you just had the manpower and the radar gun sitting by Green Tree or Yates or somewhere, because practically everybody is speeding going down to Palmdale Road. And that's all I have to say. I'm here in support of Miller, but also my daughter's house is sitting right across from his son's house. So if they're going to hit that house, who knows, if it's a big truck or something, they could actually come up that embankment and come over and come into my daughter's house also. And I appreciate it, okay? Whatever you could do as soon as possible, okay? And everybody have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles Brumble?
Hi, my name is Charles Brumble. I have, my family's been here since the 1940s. I work with Brumble & Associates, a business that was established by my mother 45 years ago. I know the Marks family, and I've been over to their home. And what I can tell you is essentially the cars are going faster than the cars on the freeway. That's what I sat out there within the last week, observed it for about 45 minutes. So they are probably, my estimation is 70, 80 miles an hour. The speed limit is 50 is what it's marked. So it might be helpful to bring down the speed limit in that zone. in addition to what Mr. Metzger has suggested as far as a stoplight would definitely probably help. There's only one other issue that I want to mention, and that is the Coco's. Could anybody provide a quick update as to what the status of the Coco's restaurant is? We've just had a fire in the last week, I believe, and it probably needs to be torn down. It presents a significant safety hazard, and a lot of vagrants are going in there, and they're going to get injured or killed in a fire. You know, we do have shelters. Some of them do take advantage of that. That's something that we do support, is shelters. But at this point, it's an attractive nuisance, and it is blighting, you know, our community, and we would like to see something done about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Those are all the cards that I have. So now we have declaration of closed session items by our city attorney.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We have 2 items this evening. They both pertain to real property negotiations pursuant to Government Code 54956.8. The property locations and the negotiating parties are all set forth on the agenda under items A and B. To the extent there is reportable action, we will report it either at the conclusion of the closed session or prior to the commencement of the 6 o'clock regular session.
Thank you. At this time, we will recess to our closed session, and our regular session convenes at 6 p.m. It is now 6:01, December 18, 2018, and I call to order the regular meeting of the City Council of the City of Victorville. In the City Council sitting is the Library Board of Trustees, Southern California Logistics Rail Authority, Southern California Logistics Airport Authority, successor agency to the Victorville Redevelopment Agency, the Victorville Joint Powers Financing Authority, the Victorville Water District, and the city as housing assets successor. May we have roll call, please?
Councilmember Cox?
Here.
Councilmember Gomez?
Present.
Councilmember Jones?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez?
Here.
Mayor Garcia?
Here. May we have our closed session announcements by our city attorney, please?
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. We had 2 items for closed session, both were real property negotiations. At this point, we were unable to conclude them, so we will be reconvening at the end of the regular session. And to the extent there is reportable action, we will report it at the conclusion of the reconvened closed sessions.
Thank you. May I make a suggestion, please? Can I have Ms. Gomez remove this thing from her head?
Appropriate dress would be nice, too.
Well, okay, she refuses to do that. I will continue on. We will have the invocation by Father Jude from St. Joan of Arc and the Pledge of Allegiance by Police Chief Rick Bassinger, so please stand.
In God we trust, therefore let us pray. Holy One, known by many names and beyond all names, Spirit of life, Spirit of love, Spirit of community, and Spirit of justice, we ask your blessing on the people who have been called to lead the community of Victorville, in which we live and work. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life. As we are the last month of 2018, we remember and thank you for all the blessings upon the city of Victorville, and especially the city of Victorville and all the council members and the people of God. Thank you for the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Amen. I do have one special presentation this evening, and this will be for our Civil Rights Essay Contest winner, Penelope Trilge, and I'll come down and do the presentation. Could I have Penelope Trilge and Jen Gonzalez, the Victor Elementary School District, with the Victor Elementary School District, along with Regina Weatherspoon Bell and Fred Hunter, to please come forward and join me, please. Each year, the City of Victorville teams with Victor Elementary School District to host our Civil Rights Essay Contest. I am pleased to announce that this year's winner is Penelope Trilge, a sixth grader at Galileo School of Gifted and Talented Education. A portion of Penelope's essay about civil rights leader Harriet Tubman will be displayed on a bronze plaque at our Civil Rights Memorial here at City Hall. Funding for the bronze plaque has been underwritten by the Dreamers, Visionaries, and Leaders Project and Desert Valley Hospital and Medical Group. Regina and Fred, thank you to both of your organizations for your generous donations. And we will host a ceremony on January 21st, 2019, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, to recognize Penelope and dedicate the bronze plaque honoring Harriet Tubman. I invite all of you to join us. Now it's my honor to present the certificate of recognition to Penelope Trilge. Certificate of recognition presented to Penelope Trilge Congratulations on being selected winner of the 2018 Civil Rights Memorial Essay Contest. A portion of your essay highlighting the accomplishments of Harriet Tubman will be displayed at the City of Victorville Civil Rights Memorial. Signed December 18, 2018, Gloria Garcia, Mayor of the City of Victorville. And congratulations, young lady. We are so proud. And I also would like to commend Penelope's teacher, Jaylee Meeks. 3 out of the 4 essay contest winners so far have been students of Mrs. Meeks. She is definitely an inspiration, and we really do want to congratulate her and give her a big hand. Now, Superintendent Gonzalez, would you like to say a few words?
Of course, Victor Elementary wants to congratulate you, Penelope, on your essay. Reading this essay, I mean, it's an honor to get selected for this, to be a winner of this. And the events that coincide with this are wonderful. But your essay really is the epitome of the spirit of this contest. It really spoke to the spirit of it, so I'm really proud of that. I would also like to let you know that we're proud of Mrs. Meeks as well. Mrs. Meeks encourages written expression that is relevant and meaningful for the students so that they're connecting to real life all the time. And you can see this in the essays, but you can also see it in the work in the classroom. When you're in there, you don't want to leave, so it's always wonderful. So for women, like the women up here, and for Mrs. Meeks and you, Penelope, you did a brilliant job selecting Harriet Tubman because she laid the foundation for us with her bravery. So I'm really proud that you chose her. Congratulations.
So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the City of Victorville for this wonderful Civil Rights Memorial. And I want to say what a pleasure and honor to meet you. You are beautiful, but you are brilliant. And we support you and look forward to celebrating on January 21st. I'd also like to say thank you to Desert Valley Hospital and Fred Hunter for their support in helping us to make sure that we could sponsor this plaque. Dreamers, Visionaries, and Leaders is a 10-year-old organization, and we celebrate the multicultural contributions to our American history. And so Harriet Tubman is someone that we use her quote in a lot of our materials, right? That every dream begins with a dreamer, right? So thank you for that.
I think I got this, but thank you, Mayor Garcia, for this time and inviting me to say a few words on behalf of this young lady. On behalf of Desert Valley Hospital and the Desert Valley Medical Group, we are honored and appreciate the opportunity to support the City of Victorville and, of course, the Dreamers, Visionaries, and Leaders, as sponsored by Regina's Foundation. Recognizing Harriet Tubman into the Civil Rights Memorial, she's going to be placed up there with some other fine names, so good job with that selection. And congratulations to you and to your school. And I never knew we had such a school in the area here, Galileo School of Gifted and Talented Education. So you epitomize that quite well. And what I see for you is you are our visionary for the community. And we wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish everyone happy holidays and a joyful New Year. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone, and a very Merry Christmas and a blessed New Year, and thank you so much. Now at this time, I will ask our city clerk to please present the agenda to council and any revisions or additions to the agenda, please.
The City Council of the City of Victorville welcomes the public's participation in tonight's meetings. Please silence your cell phones. Persons who wish to address the council on a specific item or any item that does not appear on the agenda are requested to complete a white speaker card located in the council chambers lobby and give it to the city clerk prior to the meeting. The mayor will call upon each individual who has submitted a speaker card. Pursuant to Government Code Section 54954.3, state law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments made during the public hearing, written communications, or public comment sections of the agenda are to be limited to 3 minutes per speaker or less, as deemed necessary by the mayor. Communications are to be addressed directly to the city council. Individual comments to staff or members of the audience are not permitted. Any person or group who interferes with the conduct of a city council meeting by willfully interrupting and/or disrupting the meeting is subject to removal. A peace officer may be requested to assist with removal should any person or group fail to comply with an order of removal by the presiding officer. Any person or group who resists removal by a peace officer is subject to arrest and prosecution pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.9, Penal Code Section 403. Following are the revisions that have been submitted for tonight's agenda. D6, the Interagency Council on Homelessness, was added, and also on D7, the Audit Committee was added. Those are all the revisions I have, Mayor Garcia.
Thank you. This evening, we do not have any appeal hearings. Therefore, we move on to public hearings. And starting with item B1, a public hearing to hear arguments for and against an amendment to Rule 5 of the City of Victorville Rules and Regulations. Mayor requests City Clerk read the recommendation.
That the City Council adopt Resolution Number 18-096, amending Rule 4 of the City of Victorville Personnel Rules and Regulations, last revised dated December 17, 1993.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff by council members? I will start with Ms. Jones. Ms. Ramirez? Rita, do you have any
No, I do
questions?
not. I have no questions.
Go ahead, Jim.
I have no questions.
Oh, you have none. Ms. Gomez?
I'd like to enter to the record the following questions. I'm not sure if staff caught this, but it's missing the financial review. A question for the CFO, Mr. Harris. What budget lines items would be affected in the 2018-2019 budget, and what's the dollar figure if approved as recommended? Why isn't this item being done during the budgetary term? And what does this have to do with furlough days? We are currently on furlough days, which is 36 hours, 7:30 to 5:30, Monday through Thursday, where staff does not work on Friday. How does this get altered with this schedule? You notice on December 17, 1993 was the last time that this was modified, almost over 2 decades ago. So it's interesting that this is being brought here and it has no report. Next, who is included in that safety shift personnel since they're being excluded? And it says applicable pursuant to federal law, not state law. I know there's differences in prevailing wages. I brought that as a concern. And why isn't the pay schedule attached? Why aren't the lists of affected positions listed from the past to show the proposal, to be transparent into what the exact changes are? And you notice on the next page it talks about an exclusion. The exclusion, who does that include with these part-time provisions? There's no list of the part-timers that are going to be excluded. And what department falls under the safety shift personnel? Who are they? And I'd like an explanation, if possible, with federal versus state law, and that's a part of the record. Thank you.
I make a suggestion that all that be in writing and presented to our city manager so that he can answer all those questions. Can I have a second?
I second it.
Motion was made by Mayor, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
At this time, I open the public hearing. And I do have one. No, I don't. I don't have a speaker card there. No, I don't. So I close the public hearing. And I need a motion.
I make the motion that we accept the consent agenda.
This is not the consent agenda. This is public hearing item B1. So the motion should be to adopt resolution 18.096.
So, Madam Mayor, may I go ahead with a motion? Thank you. So I move that the council adopt resolution 18-096, amending Rule 4 of the City of Victorville Personnel Rules and Regulations, the last revision of which was dated December 17th, 1993.
I need a second.
I second it.
I have a motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we move on to consent calendar. And consent calendar items, let's see here. Items C1 through C8 can be approved with one motion unless there is an item that needs to be pulled for discussion.
Is Madam Mayor looking for council members to remove for separate consideration? I have none.
You need a second?
So I'm happy to make a motion if no council member wishes to remove for separate consideration. All right.
Yes,
so
I'm pulling C1, C2, C3, C4, C6,
Wait.
and with one motion, C5, C7, and C8 can be adopted.
Could you repeat those again, council member?
Yes, C1 through 4, including C6.
Okay. With that said, may I make a motion, Mayor Garcia?
So did you actually pull those items, or?
Yes, pulled items C1 through C4 and C6.
Okay.
So, Mayor Garcia, I would move that the council take action to approve the consent agenda items C1 through C8 with the exception of C1 through C4 and C6 for separate consideration.
For the attorney, I'd like for that clarification to be explained because this is a new way of motioning something. So I don't want to make sure I'm voting on something where I cannot possibly comment to have a second one where I can actually add my conversation. So this is new contextualized.
I'm happy to do that for you, Councilmember Gomez. So in my motion, I've requested that the council approve action in accordance with the recommendations on the agenda, with the exceptions of the ones that you requested to be removed for separate discussion.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
So for item C1,
I need a second.
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 I second it.
Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So as a point of order, City Clerk, are you listening to the first person who does the motion, or is it the second person that does the motion? Because this is now altering the way we've done something, and I want to make sure that that's what's actually taking place.
I take the first motion and then the second motion.
Okay, so when I second it, and then Ms. Ramirez seconded it, you took her second, so I'm just making sure for the record that was clear.
I did not hear you.
Okay, thank you. I'm just making sure for that clarity. So for item C1, it's missing a report of the summary that was a part of this. So I'm not sure why there isn't a briefing on this report. We just attached some ordinances. That's for C1. For C2, did the city provide funding from our taxpayers to provide plaques and any types of presentations? Because I do see titles attached to these. So I'm under the assumption that perhaps these individuals have some kind of per diem or some kind of money allocated versus just bringing out from taxpayers. So I like to have the receipts and the costs of these actual plaques and offerings that were done during the proclamations and special presentations. On item C3, what percentage of item B1 affected the payroll warrant list? And we have an average of about $700,000 on a 2-week pay period for about 400 or so employees. Who is getting the raise? I wasn't sure what was happening. And this is relevant, C3, to the actual B1 item that we just passed, because it wasn't clear who was getting the raise, council, who was being ousted, who wasn't, and those questions were not responded. Instead, they were reverted for a later time. And then item C4. And the same question is relevant to the pay warrant list, what we spend on our pay warrant. I was wondering what was the increase of that with the approval of item B1. And finally, item C6. Yeah, so I'd like to have an appointment, since I've been restricted from meeting with any city department in this city, including with the city manager, and I'd like to make this part of the record. I have available Monday morning at 9 to have clarification for this specific item and to go through some of the things with the CIP that have gone by. And so just want to make that part of the record. So, and that was it.
I make a motion for Ms. Gomez to put everything in writing and present it to our city manager.
Second.
Can you speak into the mic?
You need to speak into the mic.
I second it.
Motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Hold on, I was aye on the in favor.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'm aye on the in favor.
Oh, okay, very good, thank you.
Motion carries with Councilmember voting no. Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we move on to written communications.
We still actually need a motion on those consent items.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Consent
Okay, go
items.
ahead.
So we need a motion on items 1 through 4 and item 6.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Mayor Garcia. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we move on to written communications, and starting with item D1.
Before we begin this, Mr. Attorney, do I recuse myself?
Yes, please. The reason Mr. Cox, Councilmember Cox, recuses himself is he owns residence on the golf course and therefore has a conflict of interest.
Correct. Additional appropriations to support the Green Tree Golf Course operations amendment to extend the term of the professional management agreement with Sierra Golf Management, Inc. The recommendation is number 1, adopt resolution number 18-100, authorizing additional appropriations in the amount of $532,243 to support the operations of the Green Tree Golf Course for fiscal year 2018-2019. And option number 2, approve the third amendment to the professional management agreement with Sierra Golf Management, Inc. At this time, I ask council members if they have any questions of staff at this time, and there's a 2-minute time limit. Are there any questions? None?
Mayor Garcia, I have none. Thank you.
No questions? And I do not have any speaker cards. Therefore, I need a motion.
Yes, Mayor Garcia, I move that the council take action to approve item D1 in accordance with the recommendation as set forth on the agenda, specifically items 1 and 2.
I need a second.
I second it.
And I make a sub-motion for a proposal to have staff and to produce a finding of how to break even in the expenses by taking the desires of Victorville residents of what to do with their money, in knowing that we're losing $666,000 every single year. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Ms. Ramirez,
It's
seconded.
I did.
This
No,
one.
No,
this
on
is
the
on
substitute.
This is on the substitute motion by Councilmember Gomez. So we have a motion, we need a second.
There's
If-
no second.
I second it.
No, not for Blanca.
No, okay.
There being no second, the motion dies. The original motion was made by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no and Council Cox absent.
There. Now we move on to item D2, amendments to the City of Victorville Table of Organization. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
That the City Council adopt Resolution Number 18-097, amending the Table of Organization, correcting the rates of compensation, and establishing fringe benefits for employees of the City of Victorville, and superseding Resolution Number 18-061, its subsequent amendments.
Thank you. Are there any questions of staff by council members at this time? I will start with Ms. Jones.
I have none, thank you.
Ms. Ramirez?
I second it.
No, do you have any questions at
No,
this
I
time?
have none.
Ms. Gomez, do you have any questions?
Yes. So for item D2, what's the fiscal impact in percentage? And why was this not added with a formal approval of the salary schedules when we added the battalion chiefs and their pay? The next one is Victorville following in this regard the federal or state law in terms of wage pay? And I like to have an appointment as well with staff to have further discussions, because as I've implemented in the record, I've been ostracized from asking absolutely any questions to any staff members, and even sitting down with the city manager. And I like to put that out to my constituency so that they realize that the lack of transparency is still continuing.
Did you have any questions, Jim?
I have no questions.
Okay. And I do not have any speaker cards.
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
I know.
There was a car turned in.
Did you mean, Mr. Rhodes, did you mean D2 or E1? D2? Okay, then you can speak.
Good evening, Council. My name is Anthony Rhodes. I just wanted to congratulate those that are new on the Council. It's good to see change. I think change is always welcomed, and it's good to just experience and have those different types of environments. I'm very excited to be here this evening. I'm sorry I'm a little nervous. In fact, I'm nervous because I have a student here from one of my classes that I was able to get him out, and I'm very excited that he came out and participated in this meeting tonight. So Barry, I'm very proud of you, and thank you to his family for coming. I wanted to say thank you to Ms. Gomez. She came out to speak to the children in the classes, and it was such a great time. And honestly, I hope to invite all of you out.
Are you speaking on item D2? Or,
yes. I was talking about it because, in other words, we're talking about the organization and the table. I was discussing with my class the importance of participating in government, and maybe they're interested in having a job within the city. And so I was appreciative that on the website and the backup materials you provided all the job codes and positions within the city, as well as how many people filled those positions, to show the class basically that we rely on each other, we should be empowering one another, and of course, just in general, I'd like to invite you guys out to come speak to a class, but thank you very much. I'm sorry to kind of hijack the topic. You guys have a great evening.
I do not have any speaker cards for this item.
And I apologize, I did have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Jim.
I looked for the highlights for the changes and didn't see any changes, particularly except the public safety. I did note that the new version of the document maintains same salaries. Next paragraph, hours of certain employees giving fluctuating week, which is, I think, is the public safety. So this doesn't, I didn't see anything that affects current individuals with the exception of safety, non-safety issues that we didn't have in the budget. What affects the overall employees?
Actually, Madam Mayor.
Well, I make a motion to also censor Mr. Cox. I asked questions, nobody answered or made that motion. So I think you probably should make that motion to quiet me, just like I've made it for him. So I make a motion so that he puts all his information in writing as well.
This is your first warning, okay?
So do I have a second?
You're out of
and
order.
if you're not there, then the motion dies. But
Okay,
I had
you're
the
out of
opportunity to make that motion. I appreciate it. Thanks.
That's one.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
One warning.
Apparently, there is a motion right now on the floor to have Mr. Cox's questions in writing. Is there a second? No. So apparently that motion dies, and then I think Mr. Harris was going to answer some of the questions.
But I believe that this will answer all the questions that have been raised. So if you look at the staff report page 380, there's a bullet point list of all of the changes that are being suggested or actually recommended by staff for this particular action. The balance of the documents serve as kind of a restatement. Can you hear me?
George, I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you well.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. So if you look on page 380 of the staff report, there's a bulleted list of highlighting the actual changes being recommended with this particular draft. The original draft was approved with the budget. Ideally, these are changes that are being recommended in advance of the start of the fire personnel that are going to begin in January 2nd. All of these changes only impact the fire personnel that will be starting in January. In essence, we have to establish our operational period based on federal law for our 7K exempted personnel, which would be the shift personnel for the fire department, as well as making some adjustments as to how their vacation and sick accruals are going to work, given the fact that they're going to work 56-hour weeks as opposed to 40-hour weeks or 36-hour weeks. That's the normal employees. So these are all changes being recommended necessary for the onboarding of the fire personnel, safety personnel that begin in January.
Thank you. So this is really pertaining just to the fire department personnel. Thank you.
And I just apologize for the restatement of the whole entire document. It's just I don't like to have amendments to resolutions and requiring ultimately for you to read the amendment plus the original document. So the adoption of this particular resolution will supersede the old document. So there's just one source document for reference.
As a point of order, George, would you please restate that last part? Because I was under a different impression, but I think you've enlightened me in my voting situation here.
So what you have before you is a restatement and amended resolution
that includes all of the employee benefits, salaries table compensation. Most of the information contained in the resolution and its attachments have not changed, with the exception of what's highlighted on the bullet points listed on page 380. And it's just cleaner to have a restated and amended resolution as opposed to having an amendment document that needs to be sourced back and have a combination of the two documents that serve as the final governing document. So staff does that just for simplicity's sake, to make sure that we have one final document that can be used for reference.
Thank you. Any other questions?
No,
No?
none.
Jim, did you have any other questions?
No, thank you. You answered them all.
Are you clear on what he explained?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I need a motion.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation.
I second the motion. Approve resolution number 18-097.
I believe it's 098.
098. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. It's 097. My mistake.
Okay. I'm not always right. One time I thought I was wrong.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, seconded by Councilmember Cox. Any further questions or comments?
Yeah, I want to state again on the record, because I've been ostracized and marginalized, I'm not able to ask any staff any question, and I've been ostracized from sitting with the manager. So therefore, I'm not going to be able to be voting on items that I'm not enough in the knowledge of, because I would do a disservice for the people.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
I'm sorry, I have to take that back, and I know there's a way of doing that.
You just right now correct the record. Is your vote no?
My vote is no. Thank you.
Order is a no vote.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we move on to item D3, extension of county library agreement for circulation and database support for the Victorville City Library. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
That the City Council adopt resolution number 18-098, authorizing the execution of Amendment A2, thereby extending city library access to the county circulation system and database support for an additional year at the current cost of $56,100.
Thank you. Any questions of staff by council members? Ramirez, none? Jones?
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. I have none.
Gomez?
No, I don't have any further questions.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
I do not have any speaker cards. Now we move on to motion in a second.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that the council approves action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda.
Second it.
Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D4, authorization for official business travel to 2019 League of California Cities New Mayors and Council Members Academy. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
That the City Council authorize official business travel to the 2019 League of California Cities New Mayors and Council Members Academy for 2 newly elected council members in the total amount of $2,475 for registration, hotel, and parking.
Thank you. Any questions of staff by council members?
Yes. So isn't there a limit per council member of $1,200 in the budgetary finances already to date, which would mean that any other travels that are 2 new council members would have no allotted money. So I'm not sure if that's something that they want to expend everything, or we're going to increase the budget. The next thing is, yeah, that's basically it. If the council would have exhausted their budgetary allowance, they wouldn't be able to travel for the benefit of the public if they had to. So how are we going to be dealing with our new 2 council members using up that in just one meeting's time when there's so many throughout the year?
Madam Mayor and members of the council, the collective budget for the city council as it relates to travel, I believe in this particular case it says $13,747. I recall generally the policy that we've had in the past creates a $15,000 budget and does assign a smaller amount to be available to the discretion of the council member during the year, though probably in the last year we've had to create some policies and procedures manuals and establish policy and procedure for the council to require them to come back and request that travel be approved. And so effectively that is what this is doing, is it's satisfying the requirement that all city council travel be approved, but it does fit within the collective city council travel budget.
Thank you, and that is correct. Anyone else? Any questions? No? I do not have any speaker cards. Therefore, I need a motion to approve.
Madam Mayor, I approve the 2 new members of the council to attend the League of California Cities new mayors and city council members of the academy.
I second that motion.
I second it.
Motion by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Gomez. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D5, acceptance of the Used Oil Payment Program Cycle 9 grant and associated expenditure plan. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
That the City Council adopt Resolution Number 18-058 to authorize the acceptance of the Used Oil Payment Program Cycle 9 grant and authorize the city manager or his designee to process all documents required for program administration and approve the associated expenditure plan.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of staff by council members?
None from me, Mayor Garcia.
No questions.
Questions? I do not have any speaker cards. Now I need a motion and a second.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the recommendation of staff.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Mayor Garcia. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D6, that the City Council consider and appoint members to serve on various committees for calendar year 2019. Do we have any questions at this time of council members of staff?
Yeah, what was the process that was used to create these appointments that are, what was governed, or whether it's the municipal code, state code, charter, any administrative laws or regulations? And if you look at the committee list, I like to, a lot of them say quarterly, twice a year. Some may or may not have dates. So I'd like to be able to have the specific dates of the ones that are very ambiguous. But I've noticed also that the community and our residents do not know who sits on the committee in terms of how much money they're going to be getting when they sit on these committees. And all this is about money. And I think our residents should be able to know per meeting how much you will be paying, getting paid by each agency.
I can actually answer the first question. The designation of commissions and people that sit on committees is all governed by Chapter 9 of the Policy Manual, as well as the Victorville Municipal Code.
I know the prices aren't in Chapter 9, so I'm sure it's the same as prior. Someone has that knowledge of how much you get paid when you sit in these committees. I'm sure it hasn't changed. $150, $300.
May I answer that, Madam? You will notice that I sat on some committees. City does not pay me anything. As far as I know, city doesn't pay anyone. The other entities, which are legal entities, may elect to pay the boards, but the city doesn't pay it.
So when I address city, since we cast our vote on behalf of the city, the agency through our taxpayer money is granting us, or those who get appointed, a certain allotted money. So it still comes out from our taxpayers. So I know some of them are $300 per seat and some of them are $150, and so that's what I was looking for.
Well, I don't want to get involved in a discussion, Madam Mayor. My apologies, but on a board I sat, it covers a huge, huge area, and unless you request a fee from the Air Quality Management Board, the city taxpayers are not involved in raising any money. It's from user fees, and the majority, 97%, I believe it is, come from outside the city. So that's not a correct statement that the city taxpayers are paying in that. As far as the other agencies, I don't sit on those, and I won't try to answer for those.
Well, I'm sure staff has that data, so I'd like for that to be provided in hard copy and also in my emails. So unfortunate that you guys won't be getting the list, but these committees do come with money.
Okay, fine. So let's see here. I do not have any speaker cards on this item here. So at this time, I make a motion to keep the existing members who are not new elected members, to keep their committees as they are presently, unless Jim would like to make some changes.
I would like to stay on the committees. I will defer greatly to the two new members. I don't know if they've had the opportunity to look through these, ask questions, become familiar, if they have expertise or a need in the field that want to sit on the committees. I'd like to stay on these committees, but it is the city council that makes the appointment. I go to these entities representing the city, not me. So it's whatever's up to the council.
At this time, I make a motion to keep Councilmember Jim Cox on the number 3 committee, League of California Cities Desert Mountain Division, as the primary, and the alternate, Mayor Garcia. That's item number 3.
Is that a substitute motion? The first motion I heard was to keep all of the existing appointments the same.
Correct. So then, okay, then let me see. 1, 2.
You want to withdraw the substitute motion and just have
no,
the motion?
I'll stay with my first one then, for the
to keep all existing appointments the same, except for those that are no longer on the council. Is that correct?
Correct.
So I'll second that for purposes of discussion.
I'm sorry?
I'll second that for purposes of discussion.
I have a motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Jones. Any further questions or comments?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I do. May I, Madam Mayor?
Ahead.
Okay. So as I look over this, it occurs to me that there are a number of committees, et cetera, that require a great deal of knowledge. And I'm concerned with some of these. It would appear that we're looking to having Councilmember Cox remain as alternates, specifically SBCTA on both of those, as well as the Victor Valley Water Reclamation Authority. And I don't know if Councilmember Cox is amenable to this, but it seems to me he would be more suited to sit in the primary seat rather than the alternate seat. Because those are hefty committees, and I think there's some benefit to having some institutional knowledge in those seats.
You are correct.
Mayor, may I say something?
Yes.
I believe that in regards to the two newly elected council members, that the replacement of Kennedy and Negrete are the places that we should be considering for the two new ones, and that because of the fact that those who have remained in the city council have had 2 years at the particular office or position should simply be remaining because of experience and continue until 2020.
Correct. Okay. Okay, so we have the original ones would be item 3, 5. No, wait a minute. 3. It would have to be 2, 3, 4, 5 for Garcia, and 6, and 9, and 13. So we are looking at item number 1, High Desert Corridor, JPA. We do not have a primary or an alternate. We'll start there.
Well, we have a motion right now, seconded on the floor, which is to keep everything the same to start with, except for those where you're going to have vacancies. If they want to modify that motion, we should make that clear. But the motion on the floor right now is to
I'm
keep...
sorry, it is kind of confusing. Okay, we need to. I need to go back to the beginning then, and just for the existing ones to remain. And we had a motion and a second.
We did have that. I then heard, as part of the discussion, Councilmember Jones suggest that Mr. Cox be moved from alternate to primary on the positions where Mr. Kennedy was listed as the primary. That could be put into a substitute motion if so desired. Right now, the motion that's on the floor, again, is to keep everything the same with respect to people that are currently serving on the council.
Okay, so that would be a substitute motion?
If it's made
Cox,
that way, I can't make that motion.
Item 7 and 8, for him to move to primary?
Madam Mayor, before I venture a substitute motion, I would certainly want to know whether Councilmember Cox is amenable to such a change, to take those primary seats.
If I might.
On the SBCTA Board of Directors and the Mountain Desert Policy Committee, as well as the VVWRA.
I'm sorry, but can we take these one by one? I hate to delay this. In regard to
we should have a vote, or see if there's a vote on that motion. If there's a substitute motion, if not, then we can go back and do these one by one.
Well, I'll second that, but so for discussion, because my understanding is where I'm going to be the alternate, I would move to primary.
Correct. That's my motion.
Oh, okay. I understand it then. Thank you.
So I do make that substitute motion, and okay.
And I make another substitute motion on to this, that we take this one at a time versus that mix-up that's coming across.
That I will absolutely second.
Okay, so right now there is a second substitute motion which we consider first, which is the motion of Councilmember Gomez to take these items one by one, which has been seconded. So we should vote on that motion first.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, so we take each item individually, starting with item number 1.
Correct.
Okay, High Desert Corridor, JPA.
I nominate myself, Rita Ramirez.
And I nominate myself, Blanca Gomez.
To the attorney, do we second each one?
Right now there are nominations. We
Nominations
should
on the
have
floor?
all the nominations on the floor. Then we should close, see if there's any other nominations, and after that, then we should go back and consider those motions.
The first nomination is for Ramirez.
Second.
And these are for the primary seats, correct?
Correct. And we're dealing with the High Desert Corridor, JPA.
Now, I have a question on the High Desert Corridor, JPA. Maybe only the attorney can answer this. When the High Desert Corridor JPA was formed, Victorville had an appointment. The supervisor at that time, not Mr. Lovingood, changed the rules that Victorville would not set, but Hesperia would set. They changed the rules a second time where that appointment was made by the supervisor, but then there were several years where absolutely nothing happened. When our current supervisor nominated Mr. McEachran, I believe that was a member at large, but I'm not sure, or was that intended to be Victorville's membership? If the city council is the individual agency and not the county, then that's as I understand it now, and that would mean number one is correct, but I wanted to ask that question.
I unfortunately cannot answer that. I don't know how the High Desert Corridor has been established or how it's been formed. So if you wanted to defer this one until we get that information, I'd be willing to do that. Unless, Keith, you know how that one's established?
I don't know specifically how it was established. I did put it on here specifically, or asked that it be added specifically, believing that we have a position, largely due to a direct call that I received from Supervisor Lovingood advising that it's necessary Victorville appoint its member to the High Desert Corridor JPA. So I was going off of that assumption. I can dig deeper and see what the actual JPA document says with respect to its governance structure.
So then I make a motion to forbade this one until we get that information from the city manager.
So there's a motion to postpone filling that seat at this time until further information is available from the city manager.
I would like to complete it now.
Is there a second?
To complete it now, second.
I nominate Rita Ramirez for JP, the corridor.
I have a motion by Council Member Ramirez, seconded by Mr. Cox. All those in favor?
Can we explain what that motion is? It's been
To
a few.
nominate,
Or to
appoint Ms. Ramirez on the primary.
Yes.
The point of order, I thought Mr. Cox was seconding the Mrs. Garcia's motion, not Mrs. Ramirez's motion.
So perhaps we should go through this again for sake of clarity and start again with Councilmember Ramirez. You are making a motion to have you sit as the primary person on the High Desert Corridor JPA.
Yes.
For a second.
And
I know.
Mr. Cox, you seconded?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we need a motion for the alternate.
I don't like to nominate myself, but I will. Thank you for the alternate on the
I'll interrupt you if I'm sorry, because I was attempting to nominate you for that position as the alternate position on the High
Please
Desert
do.
Corridor JPA. Sorry.
So Jim has made the motion, and is there a second?
And I nominate myself for an alternate for that same position.
Okay, so there are two nominations for the alternate positions, I understand it, so call for motions.
So I'll take a motion for Councilmember Jones as the alternate.
Second? Are you already second?
Yeah, there's a motion and
Already
second.
Motion by Councilman Cox, seconded by Mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, just so you know, we did pull up the actual JPA website and did find that the city does hold a seat on that board.
Thank you. That clears that. Thank you very much. Item 2, Interagency Council of Homelessness. That one remains. That's Keith and Sophie. So that remains.
I make a motion to have a council member actually represent in the homeless ICH program and endeavors to cure homelessness in our high desert, particularly the city of Victorville.
You know, I'm going to second that motion specifically as it relates to appointing a council member to this, just so that we can have a discussion.
Motion by Councilmember Gomez, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
I'm sorry, so I do have questions, Madam Mayor, if I could. And this would be to our city manager. Is there any benefit to having a city council member sit on this council?
I believe there is. When the request first came, the request was for a council person, but also in their rules specifically, it allows for staff. So it really is at the discretion of the appointing body. Certainly, that board and that board, the ICH board, is effectively a policy and a deciding body. So certainly, it's at the discretion of the council, but originally it was intended for a council member.
So could it be two city officials plus a council member, or would it then be one city official and one council member?
The position is one primary position and an alternate.
Okay.
So maybe to expand, so it could be to where the council appointed a council person and staff as an alternate, or vice versa. It's really within your discretion.
So if it's the pleasure of the council to move in that direction, I would certainly be interested in sitting as an alternate.
And I'd like to nominate myself as sitting as a primary.
I'm sorry, Councilmember Gomez, was that as primary?
Yes, that's primary.
Any other nominations? I have a motion by Councilmember Gomez. Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
Point of order. Question, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
My number 2 is League of California Cities. I'm not sure where we're at. I got lost.
There's a revision on the
there's a
agenda.
okay.
It's in the revision.
That's why I couldn't find it. Sorry. I did follow the conversation, so continue on. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question, please, as it relates to this? Is it necessary for us to take affirmative action in appointing to these 2 seats tonight, or is it assumed that it goes forward the way it is if there's not?
I would like to have them done now. Otherwise,
No, I mean, but because these are, we need to reappoint city officials or council members tonight on this. It's not status quo if we don't make a motion as regards to our city manager and deputy city manager.
If I might, these positions are not currently vacant, and the council could choose to decide to make a change at any time in the future. I don't believe there's an absolute need to do it tonight, and we could continue on with the direction that I think the council just gave maybe 2 or 3 months ago with respect to these positions, which would mean myself as a city manager and Sophie Smith as a deputy city manager would continue until such a time that the council decides to change that direction.
are there any other questions?
So as a point of order, what was the last motion and what happened?
Yours was the last motion, and that it did not have a second.
So right now, I think the consideration is whether there's a motion to have it remain with Keith and Sophie until such time as the council wants to change it, or I think I heard there was a possibility of a nomination to have Councilmember
I
Jones
make the
be the alternate.
motion to keep it as is at this time. Keith as primary and Sophie as the alternate.
I second it. I second it.
Motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 As a point of order, Councilmember Jones was nominated for an alternate, and we didn't vote on that aspect. That's why my clarification was for the primary, which was clarified, but not for the alternate. So that motion was still on the table, and we've just surpassed by doing another motion. So this is not following.
No, we took the second motion. We took the second motion first. The second motion was the motion, I think, by Mayor Garcia to have it remain the same, and that was seconded. That became a substitute motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe I nominated myself. I just asked if it was the pleasure of the council to look at a council member that I would be interested.
Okay, now we're moving on to item 3.
I still need the vote.
Oh, I'm
So,
3.
The motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 As a point of order, what is that motion?
That motion is to keep the appointments the same on item 2, the Interagency Council on Homelessness, which means
got it.
Mr. Metzler and Ms. Smith would be the members, representatives.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we move on to item 3, League of California Cities, Desert Mountain Division. And that one was to remain Mr. Cox as primary, Garcia as the alternate.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
And I make a sub-motion to be the alternate myself in this particular division.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
Now we move on to item 4.
Oh, we have to go back to the original motion, which was your motion, to
And
have
I
it remain the
and I
same.
second that, the main motion.
We need to vote on that.
The motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now I move on to item 4.
Correct.
Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District Board. This one has to remain with Mr. Cox as primary, so we need an alternate.
I nominate Rita Ramirez as the alternate for the Mojave Desert Air Quality Management District Board.
As a point of order, what was the comment as it must as a requirement for Cox to stay primary? That's just an opinion, I'm assuming, not governed by any rules or regulations. Is that accurate?
That's correct. I think if Councilmember Ramirez so desires, maybe her motion is to keep Councilmember Cox as the primary and to nominate herself as the second, as the alternate. Am I understanding that correctly?
Correct. Well, then I would nominate Councilmember Rita to take the primary position for the Mojave Desert Air Quality.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies. I have a motion for Mr. Cox to remain the primary, or to be the primary, and Ramirez to be the alternate. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I need a second.
Oh,
I'll second that.
The motion was made by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Item 5, Mojave Desert and Mount Solid Waste, JPA.
I nominate Councilmember Jones to be the primary for this particular division.
Thank you.
I had requested for Garcia to remain
Yeah,
since
and
I'm vice chair and I would like to stay.
So I'm thankful for the nomination. Truly, that's not a seat that I'm interested in. So I would make a substitute motion that we have Mayor Garcia as the primary and Councilmember Gomez as the alternate.
I would nominate that we have Rita Ramirez to be the alternate for this particular item.
And is your substitute motion include keeping
No, it does not.
Mayor Garcia? So
It's a
your
different
motion
one.
is just for Rita Ramirez.
Yes.
So we should see if there's a second on that motion.
Is there a second? There being no second, that motion dies.
I believe we have a motion on the floor right now for Mayor Garcia to remain primary and for Councilmember Gomez to remain alternate.
However, I think it begs the question, since Councilmember Gomez has made other nominations, if she is indeed interested in serving as the alternate.
Is that a motion?
I'm asking,
Question.
are you interested in serving as the alternate? Because if you're not, it it's not going to.
That didn't beg the question, but I appreciate that.
Sure.
If you'd like to nominate someone else, you're welcome to do so.
I nominated you in the motion, so I just am interested in.
Oh
learning
yeah,
if
I'm
you're
interested in all the committees. However,
Okay.
you know, I'm going to press the button to see what falls.
Okay.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 6, Police and Fire Activities League. This one here, the mayor has to be the primary. It is requested by them, and there's no alternate, so that remains.
Well, I would make a motion to have Cox take that position as a primary.
It has to be the mayor. They request that.
Yeah, but that's not policy or law. It's an opinion.
It's in their policy and bylaws.
Is that a part of this document? Because I didn't see it. I don't know if you're
is.
authorized to give legal feedback or if that's his, or we should wait. Regardless, I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? Because we have 3 votes and then you can do that. So I don't know why we, that's my nomination. Just don't second it.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
Item 7, San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, Board of Directors. Mr. Cox is the alternate. I make the motion that he be the primary.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I move that Councilmember Cox become the primary on this seat, and I nominate myself for the alternate.
And I do a substitute motion where I take primary and we have Mrs. Councilmember Ramirez be the alternate.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
We have a
There
motion.
was a substitute motion that died. The original, I didn't have a
that's-
chance to second it.
Yeah.
That's correct. There's original motion to have Mayor Pro Tem Cox be the primary and Councilmember Jones to be the alternate. Do you have a second on that yet?
Yes, I seconded that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we move on to item 8.
We need a vote on that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Motion made by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Okay, now we move on to item 8, San Bernardino County Transportation Authority, Mount Desert Policy Committee. I make the motion that Mr. Cox be primary on this one also.
And I would nominate Jones as the alternate because these go hand in hand.
Yes.
The meetings take place at different places, but it's almost the same agenda. So it wouldn't make sense to have different, you could, but it wouldn't make any sense to have primary and alternate that were different. And so I don't know if I'm amending the motion or what, but that's my recommendation.
Right now, the only motion that was made would be just to have Mayor Pro Tem Cox be the primary. What I'm hearing from Mr. Cox is you are making a substitute motion. I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you would remain as the primary and that Councilmember Jones would be the alternate. Is that a substitute motion from you?
That is, thank you.
Is there a second?
I second it.
And then I also make a substitute motion to keep Cox as the alternate and to have Ms. Councilmember Rita to become the primary for the SBCT Mountain Desert Policy Committee.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies. The subsequent motion was made by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Number 9, Solid Waste Advisory Committee. There's only one primary here. John Davis, JPA Administrator, is the alternate.
So I make a motion to keep as a primary Mayor Garcia.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Gomez, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Number 10, Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG. We do not have a primary or a alternate.
Question, Madam Mayor, are we entitled to one?
We need to appoint.
Okay.
I make the motion that Ramirez be the primary on item 10, Southern California Association of Governments, and Ms. Jones be the alternate.
Second.
Motion made by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Mr. Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item 11, Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG Aviation Task Force.
I nominate Rita Ramirez for primary for the Southern California Association. Oh, no, excuse me. Number 11, yes.
Yeah.
Of Government, SCAG.
Second.
And for alternate, Jones.
Are you amending the motion?
No, we.
Right now, the motion is only dealing with the primary. If you want to make a
okay.
substitute motion,
So we're not doing both at the same time. Okay, we're
well, you
just.
can
doing-
if you want to. If you want to make a substitute motion, that
Yes,
would be
I make a
appropriate.
substitute motion that we have Ms. Jones as the alternate.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, seconded by Councilmember Cox.
Substitute motion.
I'm sorry.
I think we're dealing with the substitute motion from Mayor Garcia, which is to have Councilmember Ramirez be the primary, Councilmember Jones to be the alternate. That is the substitute motion, as I understand it.
Correct. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Item 12, Victor Valley Economic Development Authority.
I nominate myself to be the primary on this one.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Gomez, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries with Mayor Garcia voting no.
We still need to fill the alternate on the Victor Valley Economic Development Authority.
No, that was for the primary. We need an
Yes.
alternate.
I nominate Rita Ramirez for this position.
Is there a second?
You want to serve? Second.
Motion by Councilmember Gomez, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Number 13, Victor Valley Transit Authority, BVTA.
I nominate Mayor Garcia for the primary and myself for the alternate.
I'd also like to nominate Mayor Garcia as the primary and myself as the alternate.
I will take the first one.
Take the second one.
Oh, you want me to take the
Actually,
second
these are nominations, so you should take the first one. These aren't motions yet.
For Mayor Garcia as primary, Council Member Gomez as alternate. That was motioned by,
That was a nomination, so we need a motion for that.
I make the motion.
I'm sorry, would you clarify, is that the first or the?
There's a motion right now for Mayor Garcia to remain as the primary and Councilmember Gomez to be the alternate, and that is a motion by
Councilmember Gomez.
Councilmember Gomez. We were looking to see if there's a second. There was another nomination after that for Ms. Jones to be the alternate.
So which one are we voting on?
We're voting on the first nomination. If you don't decide to that, we would then go to the second nomination.
And the second one is Jones?
Be the alternate, both of which are Mayor Garcia being the primary. The motion on the table right now is for Mayor Garcia to be the primary, Councilmember Gomez to be the alternate.
I'm going to amend mine to replace the primary with Cox instead of Garcia. And to continue with myself as being the alternate.
Okay, so now we have a second substitute motion. We have a substitute motion that's on the floor.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
We are still now on the original motion, which would be to have Mayor Garcia remain primary and Councilmember Gomez to be the alternate. There's still another pending motion on the, pending nomination on the floor, which would be to change the alternate to Councilmember Jones. The motion right now is to have Mayor Garcia primary, Councilmember Gomez be the alternate.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
Now I believe we go to the first nomination, and we're looking for a motion to have Councilmember Garcia be the primary and Councilmember Jones be the alternate.
Is there a second?
Second.
Jones. Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Now we move on to item 14.
I nominate Mr. Cox for primary for the Victor Valley Reclamation Authority.
I make that same nomination with Deborah Jones as the alternate.
Is there any other nominations?
Yeah, I'm going to nominate myself to be the primary and the alternate to be Mrs. Jones.
Okay, so there were three different sets of nominations. The first nomination was just dealing with Mayor Cox being the primary. The second one was to have Mayor Cox be the primary, I believe, Councilmember Jones to be the second, so the alternate. The third nomination was by Councilmember Gomez to have her be the primary, and I forget who did you say to be the second, and Ms. Jones to be the second. So we should take the first nomination first and see if there's a motion on that, which would just be dealing with Mayor Pro Tem Cox to be the primary.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'm sorry, who made that? Did you make the motion? Okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So there was a motion by Mayor Garcia. Is there a second? It's just the first.
Just for
one.
me, second. Hate to second my own, but.
Motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
And now we need a nomination for the alternate by itself.
We're doing the alternate.
I nominate myself as the alternate.
Second.
Motion made by Councilmember Jones, second by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Okay, so that concludes item D7.
D6, I believe that was. Now we move on to item D7.
Oh, D6. D6, okay.
And just a reminder on D7, there are revisions in addition on your dais.
Yeah, that concludes number D6, and we will move on to D7. We do have a revision. That the City Council either reaffirm or make changes to their appointees to the city's committees. Do we have any questions of council members or staff?
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
We have 2 new council members, and so I'm assuming that the past appointees of Mr. Kennedy and Mr. Negretti expire with the new appointees should the 2 new members want to do that. If the current members do not wish to replace, is there any action needed? Or do you have to take an action from all 5 council people on each of those positions?
Mr. Attorney,
You could make a motion that if the council so desires that all of the existing appointments remain the same and that you just then fill the vacancies left by those members that are whose terms are expiring.
I'm replacing my appointee.
Excuse me, I'm not done yet. Mr. Attorney,
So, Mr. Cox,
my understanding is that we are just replacing the ones for Kennedy and Negretti. The others remain in place.
that could be the form of a motion from Councilmember Cox.
If I might, Mr. Attorney, the way the staff report was framed, just calling attention to the very first line of the discussion section, it is speaking, this item is speaking specific to those committee appointments expiring December 31st of this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I'm going to be replacing my appointee.
That probably should happen then as an agenda item, since right now, per the staff report, we're just dealing with those that expire based on the 2018 term, and I believe your appointee's term would expire coterminous with your term in office.
So I'm going by status quo, which was when I was appointed, the appointees or the council members had the option of replacing theirs, and their option was not to replace. So it's not something new that I'm bringing to the table.
But it's certainly an option to do it. It's not on the agenda tonight. You could certainly bring that up as to a replacement of a position, and that would require 3 votes of the council.
Well, it says right here, recommendation that the city council either reaffirm or make changes to their appointees to the city's committees.
Right, but the discussion item right below under the recommendation is the following committee appointments expire December 31st, 2018. So it says the city council should either reaffirm or make changes to those appointments, i.e. the appointments that expire on the 2018. You certainly can make a change to yours if you get the support of the council,
So
but we should add that as an item.
I make a motion to follow the recommendation that is that the city council either reaffirm or make the changes to their appointees to the city's committee.
Is there
Not able to do that at this time. She has to agendize it.
Well, because that's the recommendation, so I'm just following the recommendation of staff, which is those words, so that's what I was doing.
And it has to go through a 3-vote. No single council member has the authority to terminate or to appoint.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question, please? So it's my understanding that the persons serving on committees are coterminous with the counselor that originally nominated them. Is there a set procedure whereby a council member can remove that prior to that occurring? And is there a protocol for who does that? Does it have to be the nominating counselor? Can it be any other council member? Is there any type of established protocol for this?
I don't believe we have an established protocol. All of these appointments, however, require 3 votes. So I believe at any time, if somebody wanted to remove one of their appointees who was serving a term that was coterminous with their term, they'd have to bring that up to the council and ask the council's support on that.
And is that, if I may, is that because committee members serve at the pleasure of the entire council?
That is correct.
Okay. So the issue here is that because this particular one isn't set to expire December 31st, then it would have to go through the normal agendizing process. Is that what we're saying?
That is correct.
Okay.
So if she doesn't want to agendize it, then I'll move on.
Well, right now, that would be appropriate to have that added at the end of the council meeting on new items for future agendas. Right now, staff is looking for either reaffirmation or changes for those people that expire. Obviously, it was not going to be a reaffirmation. You could make a motion to reaffirm everybody that doesn't expire, and then to appoint people for the ones that are expiring. And the ones that are expiring are obviously Mr. Negretti's and Mr. Kennedy's prior appointments.
As a point of order, Mr. Attorney, are you suggesting, because you're reinterpreting the words of the recommendation, which do not include the extra verbiage that you've added, so the recommendation starts from that and it ends at the word committees. So I'm just making sure that you're not adding or suggesting for something else, because that's not what I'm reading.
I'm going to the more specificity, which is under the words discussion. It says at this time the following committee appointments expire on December 31, 2018. The City Council should either reaffirm or make changes to those appointments. That's more specific.
Right, and that's the discussion.
Correct.
May I have another question?
Yes, go ahead.
I received I guess it's addendum or information in regard to a council member's request to appoint people, but I only received one. I did not receive one from both council members. I don't know if that council member is prepared to appoint, or if not, can this be continued until the next meeting or at another time? Or does that require a separate agenda item?
I think if the will of the council, if you wanted to defer this to the next meeting, you could defer this to the next meeting.
And
I would prefer to continue it to our next.
And as a point of order, I asked for the process early on in email, and again, to place it on the record, that information was not provided and give it to me. I wanted to bring the application process. So just to let the general community know, this is already in email format worded, and I didn't get the response. So obviously I don't have a resume from the person that I would like to nominate or appoint at today's sitting. So that's why there is nothing. So I don't understand why we can't adopt the recommendation as stated and then continue on and go forth from there. I don't know if the verbiage is changing as we have this discussion, but if staff made this recommendation, is
I
it being
believe you're
altered?
not quite understanding how the procedure goes, so
You certainly would have the option at this time, if you wanted to, for the council members who have existing appointments to reaffirm those appointments. Okay. One, apparently, according to Mr. Harris, is we do need an appointment for the audit committee. That's the critical one that needs to happen tonight.
And that one I am
Yes.
certainly interested in.
Yeah, and that's the only one that we're going to do tonight, and then we will move on. Okay, this is for the audit committee, and this is to replace Jim Kennedy.
Mayor Garcia, I'm interested in that seat.
You are
I
interested?
am, yes.
Okay, Jones.
So in the interest of the public, as a point of privilege, would you point out what page number that is if it's on item D7?
It is on the addendum. There is a audit committee on revision to item D7, and it shows the audit committee appointees expiring at the end of 12/31/18, and both appointees' terms expire, so we need essentially appointments for those two spots on the audit committee. So my understanding is Councilmember Jones is interested.
Actually, we do have the two spots then that we can replace tonight.
Well, both those terms expire, so it'd be appropriate to have nomination for two people to either.
For the audit committee.
You certainly could remain and then obviously fill Mr. Kennedy's, but we need a motion.
So I'd be happy to make the nomination, and then subsequent to that, to the motion, I'd nominate Mayor Garcia for the audit committee as well as myself.
Second.
As a point of order, I'd like an explanation as to what the audit committee contributes, their tasks, duties, and meeting times.
Yes, Madam Mayor, City Council. The audit committee primarily works with myself, the CFO, to review the audit with the auditors on an annual basis. This next year is going to be particularly unique since we actually need to hire new auditors. We've actually received proposals for new auditors. So the audit committee would participate in the hiring of new city auditors starting in the first quarter of the year. But primarily it's just to review the audited financials, the findings of the auditor, and this year is unique in selecting auditors.
So I'd make a substitute motion to have Mr. Cox and Mrs. Jones to sit on this audit committee.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies. The first motion for Mayor Garcia and Councilmember Jones. Motion was made by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Is there a motion then from the council to defer decisions on the next one to the next council meeting, which is one of your options, or you could go through these tonight and address them one by one?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Jim.
I understand one of the council members is prepared to put her nominations. I just didn't know if both were or not. I had not heard from Councilmember Jones.
Councilmember Cox, I am not bringing nominations forward this evening. I'm going to go through a more formal process for nominations.
Then I could defer to Dr. Rita if she wants to move ahead now or continue. Okay, we have one individual indicating they'd like to continue this, but that's not both. So, Dr. Rita Ramirez, did you want to go ahead tonight? That was a question I needed to know.
Well,
if so,
to nominate?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Then I'll defer to Dr. Ramirez.
We're talking about my nominees?
Yes.
As a point of order, if it's to benefit the entire council, doesn't the entire council want different individuals to come forth, at least two people, to be able to navigate the differences? Because if that's the case that I've heard today, just having one person come here doesn't give the benefit of the council to be able to choose at least from an alternate or an alternative from the two people being here. And that's just for clarity, nothing against for her nominee. That's just for procedural processes and the understanding of what just was laid out as a standard here.
I don't know what you said, but anyhow, go ahead.
Okay. I have nominated for the Planning Commission Ms. Denise Wells. Ms. Denise Wells is a resident of Victorville, and she has served as a manager in the Employment Development Department. She is very involved with the community, is the president of a Democratic Club of Apple Valley. She is also the regional director of the High Desert for this area. She has done many things in regards to organization and planning and reaching goals. Let me say that she is the most organized woman I've ever met in my life, and that in the Planning Commission, she is the person that will research and do the job to the perfection of what it is deemed. I have total confidence and faith that she will do what we need to have here in order to do the job. I totally recommend Denise Wells, and I wish that she would stand up right now so you can meet her. Please, Denise, will you stand? This is my nominee for the Planning Commission. Thank you. I have nominated Jonathan Porras for the Community Service Agency. He is very much involved with people. He has worked with people. He's always in his job, his skills. He seeks to always understand. He is a compassionate person, so he will listen to individuals in the community and will do the work and follow up. Let me say we have to have a person who is sensitive to the needs of our community, and he is able, in my esteem, that he is the person that can do this job totally and give himself 100%. He does not hold back. He is a hardworking individual and a very young man. And I think that the sooner that we have young people of the millennium age to become involved in our community, the more they realize how important it is that we can have an individual of this esteem. And I say to you that he is a person who thinks, he works out his goals, and he's there every day. He is a person that you can rely on. And I know that he could be a very good person to deal with our community and residents. The last person that I nominated was for the Legislative Committee or Legislative Review Committee, and that was Lisette Angulo. You might have remembered her. She ran against me. But she is a person who's always been involved in the politics. She works with the veterans, with women. She is also a person who has a nonprofit. She is very much involved of what we need to know, of what the laws should be and how they should be attained. I have, as I said, she has a bachelor's in education and her master's is in business. I feel that her experience and her education and her self-dedication to helping others, she will also set the standard for us to have in regards to being able to regard and, let me say, relate to the laws that we need to do here in our own city council. I applaud these three individuals because they're willing to volunteer their services. They're all very busy, but busyness isn't why they want to do it. They all three have the love of Victorville and its residents, and I think the dedication that they have shown in their own experiences makes them a good candidate for each of these offices, and I would hope that the city council members would consider them as being valuable to our future as a city that is, let me say, with a very bright future. Thank you.
As a point of order, I'd like to remind staff that When we have a time limit, the time limit is for absolutely every single council member, not just myself. Nothing against what Rita has. She spoke beautifully. I just want the policies to be equally implemented for every single council member up here. For the record, I stated that. Thank you.
So there's a motion.
Those were nominations. Is that a motion, Councilmember Ramirez?
The
You got
motion to accept
all three of those
all
appointments for
three
those
individuals
positions.
specifically for that particular commission, or I would say group.
I second that motion.
And I have a few questions, if I might.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, may I? I don't know what the protocol is for this because I've seen it done different ways in the past, so I want to make sure that I'm honoring what Mayor Garcia wishes to do. So, just some general questions, and I suppose I should direct them to you, Mayor Pro Tem, because I'm sure that you've well considered each candidate here, and I'm sure that you know that these candidates have the potential to create significant impact in our community. And I know that you've considered that. Is it your opinion, and are you confident that each of these people have the leadership skills necessary for these positions?
I have total faith.
Okay. And what about their ability to work on a team?
They are a team. They would work together because they have the heart of their dedication to doing what is right. And I know that if I were to go to them and say, I need for you to do this for me, there would be no question that they would say, of course. They're totally dedicated to the idea that they should serve their city. And I simply am a vessel to allow this to happen. I'm trying to bring diversity to each of these groups. If you look at the racial heritage of the three, they are the diversity of our community.
Right, but my question has, and I do appreciate that, and I think that that's important. But I'm trying to get. I want to make sure that as we vote on this, and I'm not questioning your appointees at all. I just think it's very important for our community to know what they're getting, and so I'm just kind of being a devil's advocate here a little bit, if I could. And so, with these candidates, do you feel comfortable that they know the tenets of the Brown Act and those kinds of things that are going to be integral to these positions?
Repeat that question.
Sure. Are you confident that your nominees are have some at least working understanding of the Brown Act that's integral to these positions?
Well, I can't really answer that question, but I am certain that they have the background, the experience, and the knowledge to be able to do the job even better than someone else, because they have this idea that they are to serve. I cannot say, but I have faith and trust in them. I have seen their backgrounds. I know them personally, and I feel that I can rely on them.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
But we would have to take a vote on each.
Yes, I have a motion.
Individually, correct? Not all three
You
together.
could do all three. That's the current motion, or you could make a substitute motion and do them individually.
And again, as a point of order, I also like to enter the same thing that I just relayed. As policy and procedure, we have a time limit as council members, and again, I'm going to remind that we all respect that for each one of us, not any one particular individual, because we all equally have a vote. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Point of order. You keep interrupting the meeting. Always look at you.
Mayor Garcia, in order to address the issue raised, it might be healthy to have a motion to extend the time of discussion on these appointments since they're important.
Yes.
And if somebody made that motion and you got a second, then you could have, you as a presiding officer could supersede the existing rules and provide more time.
And as a point of order, City Attorney, I appreciate that, because I also have my own attorney that's going to be watching these records for possible litigation in the future. So thank you for suggesting that. That's not a problem. If she were to extend and provide for only a couple of individuals to have that extension, that would be something that's probable. But again, with equality, it's important for all of us, not just particular individual members.
Thank you.
So thank you for the record.
Let's continue on.
So I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, a second by Councilmember Gomez.
And that's with respect to all three appointments.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
So now we move on to D8.
Is it the desire of the council with respect to Councilmember Jones that we defer all of her appointments to the next meeting?
That's my request. I'm not prepared to make any nominations this evening. I haven't even begun interviewing applicants.
I assume the council's fine with that, so I don't think we even need a motion for that.
Mayor, there's a card.
Apparently there's a card.
Oh, there is a card? Okay. Okay, there is a card. Raul Rodriguez?
Did you, on item number 7, was it already decided?
Yes.
Well, that's the reason why I wanted to seek before you voted on these nominees. And the reason why it's been brought to my attention that Diane Wills is the president of the Apple Valley Democratic Club. And the point I'm making is that it's also been brought to my attention that Dr. Rita Ramirez is affiliated with La Raza, just like Blanca Gomez. And the point I'm making is that we need to stop putting politics we need to put them off to the side and start voting and nominating people that are willing to work on behalf of the American people and not illegal immigration, because that's what Blanca Gomez is doing, and I hope that's not what you're doing, because you just got elected, and it's important that you work for the American people. La Raza is not working for the American people. They are working to overthrow this country. They're trying to get back California. And the point I'm making is that we, the American people, need to put a stop to these politics, these Democrats who want to take over and continue giving rights to illegals. So, I hope I made my point, because it's important that we put Americans first before people that are in this country illegally. And Blanca and Rita, I think you both are doing the same thing. You're promoting illegal immigration. If I'm wrong, then prove me wrong, because you both are doing the same thing, and that's wrong. America should be first, and Americans should be first. And illegals who are illegally in this country, they need to be deported. Thank you.
Thank you. One moment, please. Maggie Martin?
Thank you, Your Honor, Counsel. I still get a chance to speak at public comments, though, right?
Yes.
We're not in public comments. Okay.
We may get there yet.
Honest to God, I have never seen anything so abysmal than what I've seen tonight. But it's, I just want to bring up one thing that concerns me. With Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, her appointments are friends. She resides with Denise Wells. Is that not some form of conflict of interest, or doesn't that raise anyone's eyebrows or the hairs on the back of their neck? Gee, I'm going to nominate my friend, my pastor, my somebody else. Really, I've seen, notwithstanding, I don't know how to describe it, I've seen some things go on this meeting and the last meeting and the one right around the day of the election, where I have seen the political game, political pawns moving around here and there and everywhere. And I'm going to tell you, I'm pretty damn disgusted at this moment. I really am. I'm disgusted. Friendships, alliances, relationships doesn't mean you're good for the job. People that don't have an experience in the planning, design field, contracting, anything, what business would they have even being there? Period. I don't care that they're a doctorate in education. I don't care that they're masters in education. This is business. Business. Money, business. Those are all nice. I'm not discrediting those qualities. But this is business. Show me what you're working with, people, because I'm not seeing much right now. I'm not happy. Thank you.
I have another card. Maddie?
Hi, good evening. My name's Maddie. Please pardon my voice. I just got it back a couple days ago. I was just curious to know what the process of showing the city interest of being a part of the committee. Like, for example, I have interest in being a part of the commission, the planning commissions. And when I called I forgot whom I spoke to, was I think an assistant of the city clerk. She informed me today that the letter of interest deadline was at the end of this month. So I'm confused as to why we're doing this right now, the appointing. I just want to know what the legal process is or what our city's protocol is.
May I briefly respond, just for clarification?
No.
Oh, I don't.
I'm sorry, we're not allowed to have any kind of dialogue with you at this time.
This is an agenda item, so we can't have a discussion on this. Yes, we're not in public comment right now. This is an agenda item, so we can't respond if it's up to the mayor to.
Thank you. So, because we have those posts are already filled by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez. So then the positions that remain would be my nominations. And so I've chosen to go through a more deliberative, or I shouldn't say that, a more formal process for interviewing. I want to make sure that everyone that's expressing interest has an opportunity to sit with me and interview, and that's a uniform process so that I can make sure that I'm properly vetting and giving the best of the best to our community. I've personally set a deadline of December 31st so that gives me time to go through an entire process and be able to weigh it all out and present in a fairly expeditious process to the council. So my understanding is that you would send your letter of interest, et cetera, to our city clerk, at which time she'll forward the information to me, and you would be contacted either by me or the city clerk to set up an interview.
But the open committee positions, it changes per council member?
So each council member gets to nominate for 3 particular committees.
No, but I'm saying as far as the deadlines go, because I know that online there's two committee positions showing available, and it says the protocol is to submit a letter of interest but there's no deadline. And so when I called the city this morning, they said that the anticipated deadline was the end of this month. And so right. I'm really just looking for clarification. Like, I'm not trying to raise hairs anywhere.
I haven't done a good job in giving that to you. So because the only seats that remain are for me, but each of the seats so there's 1 seat for Planning Commission, 1 seat for community member, and
Advisory.
1 seat for the legislative review. And so those are the positions that I'll be interviewing for. If you're interested in any one of them or all 3 of them, if you do your part with the city and providing your letter of interest, either the city clerk or I will be in contact with you. But I've set December 31st as a date. I know originally it was open, but I do have to make a decision at some time in the near future.
And in terms
I've set the date.
In terms of procedure, basically it's up to the council members that are newly elected to decide when and how they want to make their appointments. Councilmember Ramirez has already made her appointments. Councilmember Jones is taking some time to vet all of her potential people. That's why she wants more time. So her positions are still open.
That's what I was trying to understand as to what the process is per council member.
It's up to the discretion of the council member that's newly seated.
Okay, thank you.
I do not have any other cards at this time. I lost track here. Do we have a motion or no motion here?
My understanding is we've already filled Councilmember Ramirez's positions, and that Councilmember Jones would like to defer her decisions till a subsequent meeting.
Okay, so I can move on to D8? Okay,
Correct.
Thank you. Item D8, appropriation of additional funding and award of contract for the Mojave River Walk project. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
That the City Council find that the good faith effort towards the established disadvantaged business enterprises goal for this project was non-responsive for Riverside Construction, CS Legacy Construction, and Horizons Construction. Appropriate $3,760,000 from a federal active transportation program grant from the Department of Transportation. Adopt resolution number 18-101 to amend the budget. Appropriate an additional $33,013 from Fund 230, Local Transportation, and an additional $475,765 from Fund 250, Measure I, and award a construction contract to Sully Miller Contracting Company in the amount of $4,674,901.20 for the Mojave River Walk project.
Thank you. At this time, council members, do you have any questions of staff? 2-minute time limit. Want to have any questions? No? I do not have any speaker cards. Therefore, I need a motion and a second.
Madam Mayor, I move that the council take action on item D8 in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda, specifically sections 1 through 4.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Jones, seconded by Mayor Garcia. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D9, adoption of recognized obligation payment schedule, ROPS. Madam Clerk, read the recommendation.
That the successor agency board of directors adopt resolution number R-SA-18-003, thereby approving the annual recognized obligation payment schedule for the period commencing July 1, 2019 and ending on June 30th, 2020.
Thank you. Questions of council members, of staff?
I have none, Mayor Garcia.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I have none.
Oh, you have none.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing you. I don't know if you're speaking into the mic.
Is this better?
Yeah, that's
all
much
right.
better.
Thank you so much. I have no questions, Madam Mayor.
How about you, Rita? Ms. Ramirez? No?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. Gomez? No. None. Do we have a motion or a second or?
Any speaker cards?
I move that we
Cards,
approve
no
resolution
speakers.
R-SA-18-003 in accordance with the staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Jones. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D10, that the City Council approve the automatic aid and mutual aid agreement with Apple Valley Fire Protection District with zero financial impact. Are there any questions of staff by council members at this time? To time limit? 2-minute time limit? No questions from anyone?
I second it.
I do not have any speaker cards, so I will take a motion.
So thank you, Madam Mayor. I move that the council approve action in accordance with the recommendations set forth on the agenda.
Was that a second? You did a motion?
I did the motion.
No, Ramirez, she did the motion, so you're doing the second? She did the motion.
Well, my apologies.
Then you
Sure,
second?
that's fine.
Are you seconding?
Sure, yes.
Okay. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Item D11, This item here is at the discretion of the city council. Let me see what. Oh, I'm sorry, they have it crossed out, but it's cancellation of January 1, 2019 City Council meeting due to City Hall holiday closure. And the motion is at the discretion of the City Council. Are there any questions? None? I do not have any speaker cards, so I need a motion to approve.
Move to cancel the January 1, 2019 regular city council meeting.
I'll second that.
Motion by Councilmember Cox, seconded by Councilmember Jones. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Now we move on to public comments. And I do have some cards. Madam Clerk, you want to read the statement before I call the cards?
This is the time and place for the general public to address the City Council on any item listed or not listed on the agenda per Government Code Section 54954.3. State law prohibits the Council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. The Council may receive testimony and set the matter to a subsequent meeting. Comments are to be limited to 3 minutes per individual or less, as deemed necessary by the Mayor. Depending upon the number of individuals desiring to speak, all communications are to be addressed directly to the Council, not the members of the audience. This is a professional meeting, and courtesy and decorum are expected. Please refrain from any debate between audience and speaker, making loud noises, or engaging in any activity which might be disruptive to the decorum of the meeting. Any person or group who interferes with the conduct of a City Council meeting by willfully interrupting and or disrupting the meeting is subject to removal. Peace officer may be requested to assist with the removal should any person or group fail to comply with an order of removal by the Mayor. Any person or group who resists removal by a peace officer is subject to arrest and prosecution pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.9, Penal Code Section 403.
Thank you. And I do have some cards. The first one is Raul Rodriguez. After him will be Maggie Martin.
Well, thank you for allowing me to exercise my First Amendment right. I would like to start by stating that today I spent 4 hours in LA for the City Council or County Supervisor meeting. And when I left, they were still going on. They had something like 61 items, and they had only finished maybe 2. So I spent 4 hours, and I only was able to speak for 1 minute, which was terrible. But that's the way they do things in LA. Now, I don't know whether you know it or not, but there's homelessness in LA is like 50,000 people. And in New York, it's 80,000. And we got a big problem, not only in California, but throughout every state in the union. We need to do something. We need to stop helping illegals. We need to stop helping those that are in this country illegally. We need to start helping American citizens. We need to start helping our veterans. It's important that we do something. I don't know what the number here in Victorville is, but I see them. She cannot do that. She's recording and taking pictures. That's a violation of the Brown Act, and you know that. Mr. Attorney, you need to file a complaint against her. If you won't, I will. It's terrible, yeah. And this is why, the point that I'm making, Dr. Ramirez, I hope that you two are not working in unison to take over this council chamber with your people, with La Raza. That's what you want to do. And I'm glad that, I'm sorry to see that Mr. Negretti was not elected, because I think he was a very good, outstanding individual. I respected him because he stood up to the people that don't belong in this chamber, especially Gomez. And Rita, I hope that you don't turn out like her. I hope that you work for the American people, the citizens of Victorville, the legal citizens, and not the illegals.
You have 30
I'm a proud
seconds.
American. I'm a very proud American, and I will fight for the rights of American citizens. So remember that. I will continue this fight. And I'm asking you, Blanca, resign. It's time for you to resign. Thank you. And God bless America, and God bless Donald Trump.
Thank you. Ms. Gomez, that's another warning for you. You're not supposed to be taking pictures.
As a point of order, you need to refer to your policy before you speak to anybody in this councilship and start marginalizing them. That's for the record.
Maggie Martin?
Good evening, Your Honor and council members. I am here once again commenting on the misconduct and the violations of the Victorville City Manual of Policies and Procedures committed by Council Member Blanca Gomez. I am asking this honorable council to place a censure motion of Council Member Gomez on the next council agenda. The reasons are set forth as follows. This is the Policy and Procedure Manual. Chapter 8, page 34, correspondence from council members. Item 4, subsection B, prohibitions on use of public resources for personal or campaign purposes. Subsection 1, letterhead and staff. City letterhead and staff support cannot be utilized for personal or political purposes. Any use of the city's logo, flag, seal, slogan, or name shall further be subject to the provisions of Chapter 1.06 of the Victorville Municipal Code and applicable state laws. The use of the city seal, logo, or other insignia on personal matters and correspondence is prohibited. On October 30th, 2018, at the Victorville Special Council meeting, Ms. Gomez was photographed on the dais under the city logo in her Wonder Woman costume. Go figure, right? Okay. So, furthermore, a photo of then council candidate Manuel Musquez was also taken from where he was seated on the dais under the city logo, where Mr. Cox used to sit. This city seal was used to promote Mr. Musquez's political campaign in conjunction with Ms. Gomez's participation
She's taking pictures again.
at a local restaurant in Victorville. Okay, the subsection, okay, so 1, the beginning of the manual. Purpose of the manual, subsection B. The purpose of this manual is to set a standard of professionalism for the conduct of the City Council's business. 2, roles and duties of mayor, section B. Preserve order at all council meetings, and 2, enforce or cause to be enforced the meeting rules of conduct. 3, Code of Ethics for Council Members, Section B, Principles and Standards, number 2. In part, this is in part, council members shall comply with the laws of the nation, the state of California, and the city of Victorville in the performance of their public duties. In part, laws pertaining to conflicts of interest, election campaigns, etc. Section 12, enforcement. Council members have the primary responsibility to ensure that this code of ethics is followed.
You have 30 seconds.
So the public can continue to have full confidence in the integrity of this of government. Reports from council members. Provides council members the opportunity to briefly comment on city events or projects germane to the business of the city. In part. This does not include making personal attacks on any member of the Victorville Police Department, nor calling out members of the audience in reference to personal business. If Ms. Gomez doesn't want me calling her Blanca Ramirez, people, Blanca Ramirez, her AKA,
your time
I would
is up.
suggest she call me by my true legal name, Margaret Martin. I'm sorry, did you say my time is up? Can't see with my glasses on. Okay, I'd like to, Madam Mayor, there's another paragraph and a half or so, but my time is up, so I would like to enter this into the public record if you don't mind. Thank you.
Next person is Tyler Woodard.
Good evening, Council. I would also like to request that the Council put on the agenda a motion to censure Councilmember Blanca Gomez, because the way she conducts herself at City Council meetings is unjust of an elected official. If Blanca behaved the way she does at City Council meetings at a job, there would be consequences. This has gone on for far too long, and it is just going to continue to get worse unless this Council does something about it. I thank the Council for giving me this opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Joe Forgetti. After Joe will be Paul Marsh.
Hi, I'm Joe Fichetti, and I've been here, I think, 3 times in this situation. In early April, somebody hit my car and on Amethyst and Bear Valley at the ARCO station. There's a police report, there's a hit and run, and people that were there know that the man who hit me and took off, his sister is the cashier at ARCO. I've been to the police station a number of times, talked to the clerk, asked the officer to give me a call, never had a call back. Rick, I talked to you this about 3 times, okay? Privately, it's correct, okay? You promised me something will be done. Nothing has been done. So who here is stopping this? This is a criminal that's easily caught. So who's responsible for not following through? And why? So I think I deserve a call tomorrow, and the investigation is somebody to go over there and find out who it is. You know all the information, and I'm very, very disappointed that you have not done a thing as you promised. And I feel there's some foul play here too with it.
You have to direct.
I'm sorry, what?
You have to direct your conversation to the council, not to the deputy.
Don't tell me where to look, okay? I'm looking at him, okay? And I looked at all you, okay? And somebody here is stopping this. Okay? This is a disgrace. And the other thing is you need to get along with Blanca no matter what her thoughts are. It's uncalled for. Okay? So I do expect a call because my car was damaged very severely, like in about $9,000. Okay?
Mr. Fichetti, the mayor is
How do we
right.
do
You
it?
should be directing your comments to the council, not to other individuals up here.
You have 30 seconds.
I'll stare at you, okay?
To the council.
Who's the council?
You don't know who the city council is?
I don't care who I look at.
Sir, if you don't behave, you will be removed.
Don't tell me that.
Well, you
Okay,
don't
you
mind.
want me
Point
to
of
stare
order,
at
he
you?
has 3 minutes.
Okay. Let me stare at you. So what's going to happen with this accident?
Time is up. I'm sorry, your time is up.
Okay, I expect an answer by tomorrow. Thank you.
Quite welcome. Paul Marsh.
Good evening, Mayor Garcia, Mayor Pro Tem Ramirez, council members, city staff. I appreciate this opportunity to address the council. It's obvious that I'm the subject of a council member's attention. I was recommended to the Planning Commission by Councilwoman Gomez. I was vetted and approved by the City Council. From the beginning of my appointment, I've taken this position seriously. I've attended state and city sponsored trainings. I've attended every meeting and workshops. I've studied third-party materials designed to help strengthen my knowledge in city planning and city government. Whenever I've needed clarification or just needed to discuss something, I have communicated with city staff, people like Scott Webb, Keith Metzler, Sophie Smith, and others in various city capacity who have always been accommodating to me. I've been proactive in fulfilling my obligation to the City of Victorville Planning Commission. I do believe, okay, and I say this sincerely, I do believe that if I'm not doing a good job, then I don't deserve to remain in position. I believe that, okay, but I don't think that's the case. I believe I've been a positive representation for the City of Victorville. As we all have positions with the city, we also have personal lives. I fall into that same category. I've always respected my position on the Planning Commission as well as my position with the city. I never want to do anything that will put the city or its officials and staff in an awkward position publicly. I participated in various events and functions throughout California and other states. I have never tried to use my position. I have never tried to use my position with the City of Victorville as leverage or influence in personal matters. I've never taken it upon myself to speak in a manner or act in a manner that would give the impression that I was representing the views of the city. I never want to imply a negative impression of our city and the people within. I believe that
30 seconds?
Excuse me?
30 seconds.
Okay, real quick. I believe that the sum of this issue is the fact that I'm not the mindless extension of a particular council member. I vote my conscience when it comes to the matters of our city that's affected. I listen, I discuss, I evaluate, and I vote. I believe this is consistent with everybody in governing positions, and I've always thought that this is what we want of our representatives. I have no problem.
Your time is up.
Okay. Basically, okay. I would like to finish my term to 2020. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Robin Hefston?
My name is Robin Vidston, and I would just like to echo what Tyler and Maggie and Raul had said this evening. And also, I'd like to point out we're a great nation because we are a nation of laws, and people should come to our country legally. And that should be the stance of our body politic. They represent the laws in our community. I would also like to call for the censure of Councilmember Blanca Gomez. Now, I think it's very sad to see her in the headgear tonight. It's sad because you wonder about her mental state. I personally think she needs some help. And again, I was thinking if my 7-year-old grandson was here, I would have a hard time explaining to him this situation. So it was also not in the interest of the council for her to be taking photos of the audience. There are many issues that can be brought up in a censor format officially on the agenda. Many of those Maggie addressed. So again, that is our request to the City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any other cards, so I will move on to E3, reports from our city manager.
Mayor and members of the council, I do have a few items to report, but first, I, on behalf of the staff, want to wish you all Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just encourage and hope that it's a safe one. We do have a few exciting CIP updates, and they'll be complete by the time we get back in January. Village Drive is a project we've been working on pretty much all of this year. It's nearly complete. Left to be complete is the striping for all of that stretch from Mojave Drive to Air Expressway. So that's been a long-needed project, and before, actually by Friday is when we're expected to be striped. So that project is nearing completion. We've got 2 Safe Route to School projects that are in a similar state, where all that's remaining is striping to be done. That's the Safe Route to School project over at Puesta del Sol, and then also on 7th Avenue. And those are expected to be complete in the next 2 weeks. So look forward to those. There's a couple other projects that I'll announce next month, as they are expected to be complete in February. I would encourage you and your families, and share it with your friends, that the Christmas Lights Show just out here outside of City Hall is still going on, and that's from 5 to 9 in the evenings, and that'll continue for the remaining part of December. We also have some closures to announce. At the Victorville Library will be closed from December 24th to January 1st, or through January 1st. And then finally, the Food for Fines program. It's a food drive that we're putting on that benefits Victor Valley Rescue Mission. That's been extended at the Victorville Library, and basically that's a program designed to reduce the fine for the exchange of actually food for the food drive for the Victor Valley Rescue Mission. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Now we move on to item E3. And this is council member discussion and possible action regarding items for the upcoming city council agenda. I'll start with Ms. Jones. Do you have anything, Ms. Jones?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have nothing for the next council meeting.
Ms. Ramirez?
Yes, I do. I would like for the next agenda to discuss the amending of the table of organization, correcting the rates of compensation, and establishing fringe benefits for the members of the City Council and the Planning Commission, which has not been looked at since 2006.
Oh, you have? Okay. What I would like to urgent.
We need to have a motion and a second on that.
Yes, we need a motion here.
I make a motion for the next agenda to list the amending of the table of organization, correcting the rates of compensation, and establishing fringe benefits for the members of the City Council and the Planning Commission, since it has not been looked at since 2006.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
Did you have something to agendize?
No.
I do. I would like to, in the near future, preferably our next meeting in January, an item to be added onto our policy manual on the dress code. This is a professional meeting. Professional attire is required. And it is expected of council members. No more costumes, hats in the future for council members, not up here in this dais. That's my agenda for.
That's a motion.
That's my motion.
Is there a second?
I'm going to second it for discussion purposes.
Motion by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Cox. Is there any further questions or comments?
Well, I've wondered for some time in regard to dress codes for everyone that participates in these meetings. I'm not sure it isn't a form of a freedom of expression, a freedom of speech to dress how one wants to. I do expect the decorum. The public expects council people that's elected representing them to dress a certain way and act a certain way, but I've never raised the question, only to myself, because I don't know what rights we have to address that particular subject. So while I am sometimes concerned about the decorum and even people who appear before us, I don't know what rights they have or we have in regard to setting those regulations. And I would like the attorney to address that.
I would need some time to research that issue. You do bring up valid First Amendment rights, and whether or not dress falls within that category is a item of free speech. Again, I'd like some time to research that issue.
So I raise that question for the purpose that I agree with the motion, but I'd like to see that research completed before we have a council discussion on it.
Well, certainly.
Maybe we are prohibited. I don't know. But.
We want to stay within the law and all the regulations.
Do you want to then substitute motion to have the city attorney look at the issue and report back to the council on
that
what
would be appropriate? Yes.
restrictions on dress code would be appropriate, if any? Okay.
The motion was made by Mayor Garcia, seconded by Councilmember Cox. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries with Councilmember Gomez voting no.
Anybody else have anything else to agendize? No?
Yes, so Rita spoke about some of her things. She wanted to talk about SCLA and the airport. So I'd like to have, in the near future, like in January 2019, possible discussion and action in terms of how we can look at Southern California Logistics Airport to become something that she has been so fond about and she's championed over the last couple of years. And so that's my motion.
Is there a second? There being no second, the motion dies.
The second item is I'd like to bring back to the table a homeless solution workshop. This doesn't need to be added to the agenda. This is just part of the administration looking back that this was already, should have been on the table, but it has not been. So unfortunately, in reminding staff, this motion was passed and approved, and we're quickly going on our 6th month. So I expect to see no later than in January the homeless workshop that was already approved by at least 3 council members. Further discussion on this?
We were not on discussions. We were still on agendizing.
As a point of order, I have the freedom to use vocabulary as I choose, not yours. That's for the record. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, before we adjourn, I just want to remind that we do have to adjourn to closed session. We still have one remaining item to discuss.
We haven't had council member reports yet, I don't believe.
Sorry.
E4?
Yes, we will return to closed session.
We need council member reports, item E4.
Everything gets thrown off. Okay, now we're going to reports from council members. Do you have something?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I'm going to be very brief considering we do need to go back to closed session. First and foremost on my mind is an apology to the employees of the city. I just realized today that I missed the employee Christmas party, and I certainly would have attended it, but I did not know about it. I would not have missed that chance to get to know the employees of this city had I known about it. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to everyone in our community and as well as employees. I'm looking forward to getting to know my community better in this greater capacity. I'm also looking forward to getting to know the employees here in the city so that I can better inform my decisions in the future. Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's all I have.
We'd like to say that I've been very busy and enjoying every moment of it. I went to the Salvation Army because I gave them a donation of $750 that I had won in Riverside, attending another meeting. I also attended the 6th Street Prep reading program. We wrapped gifts, Christmas gifts at the firehouse. And let me say that meeting everyone that I have since I've became an elected official has been wonderful. And I thank all the voters and residents for having voted. And I wish you happy holidays. And may your family be blessed with happiness, wealth, and health. God bless you all.
Well, I also want to thank all the, actually the employees of the city for inviting me to their private Christmas party, something that they pay for. The city does not pay for it. Throughout the year, they have different events to raise funds for their Christmas party, and I really did appreciate that they invite me, and I just want to say thank you. It was wonderful. And I know some people just don't appreciate it, but I do. And the other thing is, yes, we did go to the fire station. Is it 395 or 315? What is it? I never, 395?
315.
315, uh-huh. And I thought I was just going to go and give my little speech and do my presentation, and by golly, we got to wrap presents, and it was wonderful. These children receive things that are so expensive and huge, bigger than me. It took Rita and me both to maneuver the boxes, but we got them wrapped. We had so much fun, and then they treated us to lunch, so that was wonderful. And then, of course, we went to 6th Street Prep this morning to read to the children. That, again, was wonderful. Then we ran over to Rescue Mission at the fairgrounds, and, again, we were just blessed by being there and seeing those little children that are receiving gifts. God is good. There is so much given at this time. There is so much love. There's a few sour people in this world, but, that's their problem, not ours, And we just focus on the ones that are happy and willing to give and just be kind to one another. And I have love for everyone, regardless how they treat me. I show love. I show respect. Whether I receive it back or not, that's not important. I make myself happy because God loves me. And when I give love, I feel that I receive it back in return. So anyhow, God is good, and I thank him for me being here, regardless of what I go through. Truthfully, none of us have to be here. We're here because we want to be here. We want to serve our community. We love our people. But I don't want to
have
too
30
lengthy with
seconds.
this. I'm sure everyone needs to go home. I just want to say Merry Christmas. Have a blessed New Year, and enjoy every minute of it. Thank you so very much. And now we will go to our,
I think you still have.
Just Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, safe holidays to everyone. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for supporting the city. We need your help. We appreciate it. Thank you.
So I want to say happy holidays to everyone, and I also want to invite everybody to continue to come. I'm specifically talking to everybody who's online. I know I have a wide viewership up here. It's always really interesting to watch how we serve the residents of the city of Victorville. So if you're watching on Facebook, social media, Snapchat, whatever social media that you're on, please remember that the first and third Tuesday of every month, beginning at 5 o'clock, you have the opportunity to usurp the stage and take those 3 minutes and voice your opinions, or wait till the 6 o'clock meeting and eventually wait till the very end of public comment. But you have those options, be a participant and a voice, so that we can do what your will is, not self-interested in what we want. Also, with Catholic Charities, we have individual families. If you don't have a Christmas, 243-1100-760 is the phone number to call. Please do so. I also did a couple of things. You see my Christmas sweater. Went out with the community, and we did this Christmas sweaters. There was a lot of us. There's a couple of pictures on my Facebook. Random acts of kindness, attending the mall, giving little children gifts, minimal gifts, but enough to cheer up someone's life. And I'm going to translate this in Spanish because I have a wide viewership that are Spanish speakers alone, and I don't want to ostracize them either. Feliz Navidad y días festivos. quiero que sepan ustedes que me están mirando acá por la televisión, por social media, por Facebook, que sepan que su participación es muy importante el primer y el tercer martes de cada mes. Necesito que lleguen, aunque escriban o vean por la televisión. Es muy importante tener sus votos, porque no queremos aquí hacer lo que nosotros queremos, sino su voluntad. También tenemos a Catholic Charities, que es un programa que está regalando regalos navideños a las personas y a las familias que no tienen. El número de llamar y ponerse en la lista es 760-243-1100. Y están mirando mi suéter. Con la comunidad tuvimos la oportunidad de muchos de nosotros sentarnos y tejer y ser curiosos con nuestras imaginaciones, y fue lo que hicimos. Muchas gracias a los que participaron. Y también estuvimos en la mall comprando regalitos pequeños, no con mucho dinero, pero regalando a los niños menores de 5 años, que era una felicidad ver un gozo como los niños estaban contentos.
We will adjourn now to closed session.
I'm sorry, my 3 minutes isn't up, and I was talking to the sign language, so I know I have a few minutes. So you've just invaded my space and what you've just endured, just so you know, and that's part of the record.